Battle of the Challenges podcast with Vincent Cloud. This is the top 10 challenge seasons from 50 lists, number 10 through 6. I say 50 lists because that's how many fucking lists I looked up online, God damn it. I was like, I don't want to do this, but I will. I'll try and make it official. At first I asked my usual co-hosts, Hardcore Dave and DJ Matty Nice, what their top 5 seasons were. And then I also put mine down. But then I'm like, wait a minute, this should be more official. I'm going to look up lists online. And, at first it started off like I was only counting the lists that had a big paragraph defending why it is the way it is. And then eventually I'm like, well, this is taking forever. So I just started to write down top 5, top 10 lists, top 3 lists, and I went from there. And it's interesting how it came out because, this is going on how many nominations it gets, how many votes, how many times it appears on a top 10 list, top 5, top 3, plus how many times it makes it on just the top 3 in general, if it's second usually or if it's third, whatever. Here's the goddamn conclusion, and it's kind of crazy. It's really interesting. There's some stuff that makes it where I'm like, good, that's awesome, and then there's some stuff that are there I'm like, yeah, all right, I guess. I just wish there was some other season of mine that made the list, but hey, this is going by the numbers strictly, and 50 lists is a lot. I was like, if I really wanted to make it official, I'd make it 100. But there's not a lot of fans out there that make lists. I'll just say that much. After a while, it was embarrassing. I'm like, God damn it, I hate this. I was just getting so sick of the research. But finally, I made it. And at number 10, we have Rivals 2. I don't remember what season this was, but let's just discuss Rivals 2. That is number 10 of all time. Universal praise. Well, 50 people made the list. And this is even going off of, articles that are pretty well known in the challenge community, I guess. I don't know. Bigger shows that have actually gave a damn and discussed their top 10 seasons or whatever. So, hey, Rivals 2, it's here. And why is it here? I think it's because it's a great improvement, I want to say, of a worthy... it's a worthy sequel. That's what I'll say. Rivals 1, trust me, is on the list. And people love that fucking season. And Rivals 2 makes the top 10 list because I honestly think that... Okay, sure, these were not truer rivals, Like the ones from season 1, you're like, holy shit, they fucking hate each other. And then in Rivals 2, it was more like, oh my god, he gave me this weird stare at me, but it was crazy. And they're like, really? So then you hated him ever since? They're like, no, it was actually on the show. They edited this scene where he gives me the stare, but really he was looking at DM. It was crazy. He was disapproving of DM in the PM, and instead of going with that, producers made it look like he gave me this stare, and I reacted to it. Only on television, and now we're rivals. That's how fucking far-reaching it kind of got. Okay, that is extremely Twitter. There was a Twitter beef. Bananas and Frank were put together because of their rivalry. Now, the only reason why I'm just at the same time, I'm cool, because what is a rivalry? I think of two people that have to face against each other who could take each other out, and you're like, holy shit, so these guys are going to fight each other, and that enough, the fact that they were going to eventually fight each other is why they were paired up to begin with. That is the most craziest thought ever, but that's exactly what Bananas and Frank was. It was crazy. So, going into this, I was like, okay, I'm justifying it. But again, improvement. Again, if you look past the casting and the flimsy rivalries, you also have to consider how lame Rivals 3 is in comparison to not only this one but the first one. I mean, like, yeah, just compared to this one. Look at Rivals 3. That was terrible. Oh my god. Okay, so look past the cast. The point was that you actually have Frank and Bananas as a team. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, the possibilities were just like, holy shit, this is a powerhouse right here. And then you have CT and West, and you're like, holy shit. True, that's a rivalry, and no, it's not as powerful as the West and Kenny rivalry was. God damn it, I cannot say that word tonight. Hold on. Beer. That never helps. Well, Rivals 2. I'm just going to continue on. But then the missions were way better than the first, Rivals 1. Rivals 1, there was a lot of just stuff over the water. You know, after a while, it got quite tiring. But Rivals 2, there were all sorts of different things they had to incorporate. They not only were they above water, which there certainly was above water stuff, but there were these weird sexual backyard 70s key party going on. Like, it was a weird orgy of like, oh my god, you guys are strapped together in a 69 position and stuff like that. But then there was also were they blind and they had to go through a maze? Yeah, they were blind and had to go through an electric maze and heading near the shocks to make them, you know, the harder it was, the closer they were to the end. And then you had other crazy missions like they had to go through another maze. Bamboo maze, holding a giant bamboo pole. I don't know, there was just way more variety than Rivals 1, and really playing up the fact that these teammates have to work with each other. And the other thing is that other teams, there was never just a clear powerhouse in this season, unlike Rivals 1. In Rivals 2, it was always kind of fluctuating. And to be fair, I only mean the guy section. On the female section, this is the same as Rivals 1, where there's a clear female team that not only will win, but has to win. And, you know, is booked to win. And that was Paula and Evelyn in the first one. And in this one, it's Paula and Emily. Are you kidding me? Like, Emily is in the prime of her challenge life, and it's only her like third ever. And the rivalry with her and Paula is like it's nothing. It's fluff. I don't even know what happened. I think they faced each other in elimination, and maybe Emily said one time, not to Paula's face, not even to some friend in the house's face. I believe it was to confessional, where she's like, I don't think Paula plays with a spine or something like that. It might not have been even that harsh. And to me, I felt like, you know, she does not have a spine, to be like, kind of like, yeah, Paula is a scaredy cat, basically. And maybe that's what Emily said. She was like, Paula's a scaredy cat. And now Paula is with Emily, who is by far the superior athlete. Not only female athlete, but athlete in the season. I mean, if you really think about it, who came close? Who comes close? Think about that. Frank. Yes. God damn it. But yeah, there was those improvements, and I also believe that the eliminations were better. And then the final, the final is a 2-day scenario, but you know what? They cut out the whole sleep deprivation scene. And every other 2-day and 3-day final, it's all about that sleep deprivation. And I've never liked it because it shows people at their worst. And after a while, I'm like, no, I don't. This is not appealing to me. you know, as surface level as I am, I just I don't want to see someone who I think is attractive throwing up, bored, depressed, hair a mess. You know what I mean? Like where she's like, and he or she is just staring off into the distance, like totally out of it in her mind because he or she is fucking dehydrated because they've been like throwing up the whole fucking day and running around, and now they have to stay up and stand around. God damn it! Can't you see? Rivals 2 cut all that out. It's the only 2 to 3 days season, I mean final ever, to not have that bullshit. Instead, they get to sleep in a goddamn yacht. That is fucking pimp. and then and then day 2 was amazing. It was a mixture of old school finals and new school finals. New school in terms of like this is the second day, but in this one, the first, the old school finals were really quick. You know, they were challenging, yes, but it was all about speed. And in the most recent seasons up to that point, it was all about the endurance, the long ass stretches of walking. And true, you can get some cool stuff out of that, I suppose, some cool shots perhaps. But to me, it's after a while, it's the closest thing to watching the sleep deprivation, you know, where I'm like, I don't care about seeing people walk and walk and walk and walk. I really don't. And even in real life, when I ran the stupid ass Tough Mudder, that's all it was. The obstacles were done in 3 seconds, and then it was back to running again. And then eventually, all I did was walk because it hurt and it sucked, and it was just so lame. I would lose a final, by the way. But we'll see coming up in about a month and a half. Anyways, Rivals 2. Oh, you know what else that makes it great? Spoilers. The fact that CT and Wes won. I mean, sure, again, like, I'm like, okay, well, maybe I should have said ladies first, Paula and Emily. But, again, the competitiveness in the female side wasn't the best at all. It was all star-driven. And politically, it was meant to push the star to the furthest through this season, you know, through every episode. And it did what it had to do, and it worked. So it wasn't too surprising. And if you like Paula and Emily, and you're like, they fucking deserved it. Yeah, they fucking deserved it. They won. Awesome. But the fact that CT and Wes won. CT finally got his win. Wes got his second win ever. And I believe it is a record-breaking amount of years in between it's anyone's first win and anyone's second win. Like, usually it's like back-to-back, or maybe 3, maybe 4 seasons in between. But that was a long time coming for his second win. Yeah, that was Rivals 2. That was the 10th most liked season ever. And you know what? I like it. I'm glad it made it. I'm surprised. I know that there's a lot of people who think that, like, you know, The Island should be right here. Sorry, it doesn't make the list at all. It showed up on lists. It showed up on top 5, top 10, top 3. And when it did show up, it was number 1, you know? A lot of people love The Island. And I was like, oh God, that's got to be ironic, of course. But no, they put down their definitions on why. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm fucking moved. But in the end, like, Rivals 2 got way more votes, way more mentions on every single list that I looked at, which were the 50. And when The Island was mentioned, it was number 1, but maybe it was mentioned like maybe, oh my God, it was a dismal amount in comparison to Rivals 2. So there it is. Number 9, Battle of the Seasons 2001. This is not the second one. This is not the sequel, Battle of the Seasons 2012, where Team San Diego won. No, this is the original. I remember when I mentioned that this after I made this tally, after I did all the math and made all the went over all the lists, I told um, my friend DJ Matty Nice, co-host. I was like, "Hey, Battle of the Seasons is on there," and he's just like, "Are you kidding me? Why?" And I was like, "No, the original." He's like, "Oh, okay, that's all right." Because there was a lot of not a lot of people cared for Battle of the Seasons, but yet again, I'll just say this: spoilers again. Battle of the Seasons 2, 2012, is not on the list either. It's mentioned. It's gotten maybe one or two favorites of all time, maybe if I can remember right. But it has made it in the top 10 list before, but not even goddamn close to Battle of the Seasons 2001. And you know what? This was a first of the vote off of the challenge. I think this is the fifth season ever, and the first season ever was not, shouldn't even count really. It doesn't even make any sense. But the next three are official when it's like real world versus road rules. Now there's two teams competing against each other. The first season was just a team having to do stuff to win money. And from what I can remember, they all succeeded. Like they all crossed that finish line. But then the next three are like a back and forth, It's like fucking baseball where like two teams go against each other like for fucking ever, all goddamn summer, and then eventually they get to the final, and then whoever wins that wins the most money, you know? But there's no cuts. No one's kicked out of the team. None of that. You just fucking live with each other, and that is the whole fucking season. But Battle of the Seasons, it's once again real world versus road rules, but now it's pairings, and it's like Mike the Miz and Coral from Real World New York, and there's other great teams. I just can't recall a lot. I mean, I can recall players, but sometimes I can't recall their partners. But it was very enjoyable. I remember this season. I've watched it. Again, this is the first time that people aren't going to stick around because there's a huge team at the very beginning, but yet at the same time they're just operating in pairs, and the top three are safe from vote off, and they decide who goes. I think that might have been how it went. And I just remember Theo Vaughn being in control a lot. And then, Jesus Christ, it was crazy. It was a good season. The other thing I have to say is that, again, with these earlier seasons, you get a lot of different personalities. Now it's more douchebag, but like in those days, I'm telling you, you got a plethora of personality. There was people from all over the world. This is exactly how my mom described college to me. She's like, trust me, if you go to college, you will meet people who want to learn, and you will fit in, and you will know, and shit like that. I'm like, whatever. But the real but Battle of the Seasons Challenge 2001 was full of goddamn diversity. It was great. And not to mention instant stars. Again, with Coral and Mike the Miz, Theo, Dan S. There was Holly. Veronica was there for a second. There was Yes. Yes. Good, fun missions. This is back in the day when they were diverse and they were just, some days they were fun, yet mixed with a lot of like brutality. Like there was this thing, I think it was musical inner tubes, something like that. And like, yeah, they had to like dance around the pool, and then once the music stopped, they had to dive for an inner tube. But like people were like schwacking each other in the middle of the water for these tubes, like a bunch of savages and stuff. It got brutal. It got, and this was just the beginning. Like they would continue to have these missions where like people would go above and beyond to win this money. You know, to add more pride to either Road Rules or Real World. Someone pissed themselves during a mission just so they could get further. Someone like I believe Mike the Miz, he like lost it. Like he's got like these two personalities, and Coral's strapped to him, and she's like, no, untie me. I know this guy. Fuck this guy. And she unties herself, and she's like, no, Mike, I'm not gonna be with you strapped to your ass if you're the Miz. You know, and he's like, what? And then he slowly transformed back into Mike. You know, it was crazy. these were outstanding early seasons, and by early seasons, honestly, this is the furthest earliest season I've ever seen, the 5th ever, which was Battle of the Seasons 2001. And you know what? Hey, it's on the list. That's great. Again, no eliminations; they were just voted off. And that could still be dramatic, you know. I mean, it can be. Like, doesn't Survivor, or maybe they have physical eliminations now. I really don't know. But before, it was just a vote. They're like, okay, you're fucking out of the tribe and shit, you know. These guys, they've voted each other off, and there was some controversy. There were the earliest, from what I can remember, some sort of political bias, some sort of political corruption. Yeah, there we go. A team in power was trying to help a team outside of power and stuff. You know, it was an early, just like, oh my god, could you imagine if the show was like this all the time? And I just wanted to say, yeah, that's horrible. It's fucking, it's contrived. It's fucking, this is trash now. So I really enjoy discussing Battle of the Seasons right now. That was a good fucking fun season. Joyous, man. That was fucking back in the day. Those were good times, god damn it. Number 8. The Gauntlet 2. Now, you know what? I actually really like this season. I was once going to put together a podcast where I just discussed like maybe the top 5, top 3 for a DVD release. You know, that was my idea. I'm like, oh my god, who would be on the cover? What would the special features be? You know what I mean? I'm like thinking about that. But Gauntlet 2 made it on the list. And it made it on this list, the 8th liked of all time. And it could be because it was very back and forth. It was veterans versus rookies. And the veterans were stacked. The rookies were stacked as well. Like, of course, we didn't know that because they're just new, obviously. These are true goddamn rookies. And, of course, the veterans, like, they're fucking immortalized stars. You know, within the challenge universe, of course. Let's not get too crazy. And, of course, with this one, it had the amazing theme that has never been duplicated until recently, until Champs versus Pros, which was an off season, which is listed as a mini series instead of a full season, which I say bullshit. It should count. Darrell got 5 wins. Cara has 2 wins. That's what I think, man. But yeah, this is the time where like captains, if you're a captain, yeah, you're fucking in charge, but you have to relay information to people. People have to count on you. And if you win, terrific. Your team wins money and hey, you're hailed as a hero. But if you're a captain and your team loses, Jesus Christ, you have to go into elimination right away. This whole season had a pirate theme. Maybe it was around the time where Pirates of the Caribbean just hit big and the challenge was like, holy shit, we gotta whore ourselves out immediately. Take a whore bath in Johnny Depp juices and we're gonna fucking have the season. But it doesn't matter. This is a great theme. The cast is great. Like I said, it's back and forth because both teams, this might be the most even team I can remember. I swear to God, like I'm looking forward on this team, on this list, I mean. And it might be. It could possibly be the greatest 2 teams to ever face each other on a season. It's great. And then the missions, they were very different. They varied a lot. They dealt with giant teams, and they were able to make everything interesting. There was like body paint and showering, and then smearing it on paper, and then there was like pushing this giant ball across the golf yard, and then having to cross on tires. But they had to come up with this stuff themselves. This involved so many people. It didn't just involve like a bunch of athletes, meathead athletes, to figure out how to do this. Like the ruins, the people won because that's exactly who were supposed to win those things. On this one, holy shit, this was even. This was varied. And I would have to say that this is probably one of those old school seasons again. I mean, I would say definitely. If anything, this is all golden age. I'm not trying to say this is the best of all time, but like, just to put this in some sort of perspective, I don't want to say AD or BC, Old Testament, New Testament. But I believe that the challenge changed on Fresh Meat 1. And that was exactly after Gauntlet 2. So this could be the last old school season that we ever had. And I would totally agree. Because you know what? It was still cheery. It was still fun. But the captain stuff was interesting because the captains would then honestly have to stand up, and they would become the instant stars of the episode, because either way, win or lose, I mean, you're involved the entire fucking time. And it was great when the captains had to go against one of their losing shitmates, so to speak. A mutiny every fucking time you lose an episode. It's just so awesome. I want this forever. I want this to come back. Gauntlet 3, like, it threw away all this. God damn it. But the final kind of sucked. It was an interesting idea where, like, you had 3 different things that you had to do, 3 different checkpoints, 3 different obstacles, whatever you want to call them. But then the team only had, like, say, 250 doubloons, in their booty chest, their chest of booty. Booties and chest. Kids. Yeah. But they had to gamble. They had to put something on every single obstacle. And the veterans were just like, you know what? We're going to deal all of it on the first fucking obstacle. This is fucking gambling. This is poker. This was Timmy's idea, if I remember correctly. And I was like, this is reckless as shit. Like, because Timmy's an amazing challenger. He's like one of the best of all time. And he comes up with this wild card idea. And he wants to put all the money on the eating challenge while putting 1 on the running challenge, and then a third, and then another coin on the memory challenge. Meanwhile, I think they put Anissa on the puzzle or the running, and then they put someone else on the memory or the running. But you know what, though? The goddamn rookies, they out-eat the veterans. So it just stopped right there. There was no way to come back. And I don't, it sounds like a spoiler, and yeah, it is, but like, God damn it, maybe I shouldn't have said that. It's immortalized, The thing is, on the list, a lot of people mentioned the ending. They're like, yeah, the ending sucked. And I feel like the ending is what stops the Gauntlet 2 from being a little bit higher on the list. The Gauntlet 2 deserves to be there, regardless of the ending. But yeah, that ending fucking sucks. It just, like, takes all the wind out of everything, Like, the only thing that's saved is the captain's fight before that. And I'm not going to spoil what happens there. But you're just like, oh my god. But I think I already did. But yeah, Gauntlet 2. There you go. Number 7, Cutthroat. Cutthroat, which is, to me, it still feels fresh, even though it's been a while. The very first season I ever saw was Fresh Meat 2. And then I remember after seeing that, I'm like, oh my gosh, give me more. And then the Cutthroat trailer comes up. I'm like, where's Kenny? Where's Wes? Where's Evelyn? Like, I was just like, where's Landon? Like, where the fuck Where's Nor? I was just getting pissed. Jillian, Pete, Jen. Jen's there, but like still, I was just like, what is this? So I just didn't know the people, and so I just wasn't willing to watch. But eventually, I did watch it, and holy shit, this is probably the most brutal and most physically demanding season they've ever had, we've ever watched, they've ever played in. Like everyone comes out of this with like black eyes and scrapes and cut lips and exhausted and being pulled into an ambulance. There's a PTSD. Where Siobhan's like, oh my god, my fucking tit. You know what I mean? Like Cutthroat, a lot of people say like, oh, the old school seasons, they were all fun and like, eating a lot of ice cream and stuff like that. Oh my god, I could do that, whatever, fucking sign me up. But I can't do this stuff. This stuff is fucking brutal and masculine and everything else. And that's exactly what Cutthroat is. I don't think it's ever been succeeded. Just because I want to say nearly every mission was just so grueling. I was like, man, this is harsh. And, of course, we had the 3 teams against each other. And, the eliminations, they were pretty sweet. I loved them. The gulags and stuff. That was sweet to watch. But at one point, they were like swatting each other in the face with fly swatters. They had to shave each other's faces to slap each other while holding a pail of water. It was the most bizarre thing ever, but nothing ever boring. Especially considering that one of these eliminations is like one of the most iconic things of all time, which was the Johnny Bananas backpack. Meaning Johnny Bananas was set to face against Tyler in elimination. And instead, for a MTV Challenge twist, the few times that the challenge gods really do something for you, they bring in CT as like a random contestant. Basically, if Tyler and John, between the two, Johnny and Tyler, whoever can outlast CT's attack or pull, whatever you want to call it, wins, right? So CT comes up, and then it's Johnny first, and CT, of course, gets up. Like Johnny Bananas doesn't even exist. Like a goddamn backpack, and kudos for Johnny. Like you could see him trying to get underhooks and trying to trip over CT's thighs. Like trying to control his legs and shit. But CT's high stepping and uses his body to throw Johnny forward into the barrel. You're just like, Jesus fucking Christ. This is the craziest thing I will ever see. And it was just out of nowhere. It was just like, what the fuck did I just watch? And that's exactly how the cast is. Just seeing their reactions, just talking, just them discussing what they just witnessed. You just are there with them. You just want to keep on talking about what you just goddamn saw by CT, a so-called human being, It was fantastic. And you know what? The final, I just remember a certain team that I felt should have won. The great team, I'll just say that right now, Abram, Laurel, Cara, Sarah, and Luke. And they were so good. They should have won, but they get sick. Abe and Sarah get sick. Abe had a reason. He once discussed how like he didn't eat or drink that morning. Like you're just like, what? That's what? Abe, you're a lunatic. And yes, he is. But Sarah, she seems to have the same symptoms. She acts very much the same. She never once said like how she skipped breakfast or anything like that. And when she is throwing up, just like Abe was, it's very similar looking. So I've always wondered, did the fucking red team or blue, but mostly red team, poison the gray team? I mean, obviously the red team, they get the win, and deservingly so. I mean, nothing's proven. They just fucking, the great team, they fell ill. The blue team, they were always kind of in third. It was just Emily and Jen in a dummy on a paramedic stretcher. Yeah. But yeah, the red team won and shit like that. But still, great season. And it warmed up on me. And you know what? I'm just like, that's cool that it made it on the list. That is awesome. I liked it. I've always wanted to like keep watching it. I think I've watched it twice. I know that. But yeah, so great that it's on the goddamn list. Number 6, the Gauntlet. Not the Gauntlet 2, not the Gauntlet 3. The very first Gauntlet, and this is yet another first for the challenges. This is the first physical eliminations ever. But not only that, it is totally fine to have a male and a female go against each other in elimination. God damn it. Gauntlet finds a way. That's what I've always like gotten tired of. Like, fans of the new season, they're always just like, oh, well, this is more brutal. Or, who knows? Maybe they're all old fans and they're like, well, finally it got fucking dumb and shit. Mountain Dew, motherfucker, and monster trucks. I don't know what I'm getting at. The Gauntlet 1 was able to do these first flawlessly. This is, once again, real world versus road rules, but it's a terrific cast. Again, these aren't just assholes here to compete in these headbangers. You know what I'm saying? This is a diverse group of people, large groups of people who do kind of have a rivalry. Real world road rules is sort of a thing. I mean, there will be for real team versus team. I mean, sure, alliances were frowned upon, but this whole team versus team thing is perfectly fine. You will see teams try and break down a couple from afar. It's fucking crazy. Again, like, this is the origins. This was always about real world versus road rules at the very beginning. But again, first time with physical eliminations. The missions were varied. It was all over the place. There was fun shit. There was brutal shit. And then within the mission, there was things like lifesavers. Was it lifesavers? I don't remember. But it was varied. It worked as well, and god damn it, I mean, again, the eliminations, it didn't fucking matter. Guy or girl going in against each other, how do you ask? Well, first of all, dive into a pool and then swim around gathering puzzle pieces and then put that together. Do you have to be a guy versus a guy or a girl versus a girl? No. And this, trust me, this fucking season proves it. And it'll prove the fact that, guy or girl who's on a mechanical bull. What else is there? There's like crazy endurance shit where you gotta like hang upside down and stuff like that. Fuck. Like, this is a great season. Full of firsts and full of like never agains. There's never gonna be a guy versus girl elimination. I don't count the Inferno eliminations, because those were like strictly endurance. You know what I'm saying? Like, they were strictly like, can you walk on a treadmill with itchy stuff on your body? You know what I mean? You're like, what? I guess. Or like, can you stay in a pool of really stinky milk and disgusting cheese and fish and all that shit? Like, who can get through and stuff like that? You know what I'm saying? These Gauntlet eliminations were even. The missions were even. It was a good back and forth between real world and road rule. Like, oh my gosh, it was terrific. Again, the casts were great. Coral, Miz, you got classics like Theo and Norman. Fucking, what's his name? David something, who's like, god damn it, Grimm. Like, he's like the lead actor in Grimm and stuff like that. I mean, it's like, it's one of my favorite seasons. In fact, in the top 5 list, I put it as my favorite. Everything's there that you want in a challenge. And really, if you watch it, you're like, you know what? It doesn't matter. that it took place so long ago. Because if you're a fan of the structures and the missions, like if you're a fan of that stuff, you could like this. And I'll say the final is pretty impressive as well, because there's the gauntlet, and this is the very first time where it's like, holy shit, this is a long fucking hike. Again, I just say this because I've never seen the first four. But Battle of Seasons, Season 5 wasn't that big a deal. Season 6 wasn't a big a deal. And now the Gauntlet. This is the first time it's like really long, and it's in the mountains, so people are like fucking like they can't handle the altitude and shit like that. What else? Oh, and then of course that final plus you have to add on the Coral's spider bite. That is forever part of that final, because the real world could have fucking won it, but Coral was bit by a spider, went into an allergic shock, was very dramatic, and played it out, milked it for all it was worth. But it just ended perfect, like not even perfectly, but it was just stunning to watch. It was like, oh yeah, I like this, but then here's some really weird reality TV stuff in the middle of it, but it's proper, and you're okay with the team that won. If Real World would have won, you would have been okay with that too. You would have been like, yeah, you guys really came back. But they did a hell of a good job, especially in eliminations. Actually, I take that back. It was mostly, what's her fucking name? God damn it, Sarah. Sarah, who's like another huge star for me in that season. Like, just watching her go from like being picked on and like just trying to be like, hey, guys, let's have some fun and let's make jokes or whatever, to going to like, fuck you guys, I will win every elimination. And it's a great arc, even in the midst of Road Rules turmoil. It's got everything you want, and it's one of the first to ever do it. It's weird, it's like almost like that's the original right there. You honestly cannot make a sequel that is going to top it. You can come close, but when it's all said and done, when you take in everything that happened, if you want fucking romance, if you want hooking up, if you want fights, if you want petty arguments or great arguments, if you want betrayal, if you want strategy, if you want clear leaders coming to grips with, having to lead a team, you got all that stuff in this fucking season. But yeah, that's it for now. This was the top 10 challenge seasons from the 50 lists, number 10 through number 6. Like, subscribe, comment. This is Battle of the Challenges podcast with Vincent Cloud.